Every fighting game is like a separate dimension where certain rules work regardless of what character you pick. You make a quarter circle movement, press an attack button, and expect a special move to be performed. Or you tap a simple sequence and want the hits to be linked into each other. Sure, specials are different, frame data is unique, and you cannot learn one character and be effective with the whole roster. But the basic patterns are notable everywhere in one game. Not always. The whole genre also has some basic rules. Sure, a platform fighter is drastically different from an NRS game. And 3D titles require a specific approach, not the same as 2D anime fighters. But in general, you get the sense of being in a familiar environment, at least within one subgenre. It's the reason why inter-game migration is a common thing in fighting esports. Again, it's not always that simple. Some characters burst into their games or into the fighting genre as kind of aliens. You want them to act in a specific way, but they laugh in your face and prove their stubborn personality in every aspect of their moveset. Learning and playing them is super challenging, as you have to break patterns and expectations in your brain. They are unconventional, and mastering them might be rewarding. Or they are just weird in one way or another. Their existence blows minds and breaks settled traditions. It's hard to adapt to such opponents. Until you reach a specific level of skill, you will have an advantage from playing someone unconventional. And if you do play them, it's always a sign of your dedication to the game and the genre, and even it's a sign of a player's talent. Well, what are the most unconventional or just weird characters among various fighting games? Alright, let's go nuts from the very beginning. Let's start with Jamie. Street Fighter 6 has many unique characters, but in general, everything here is pretty classic. But Jamie comes to shake up Street Fighter 6 players, just a little bit. What about having 4 drinks to expand your horizons? Sure, the whole strategy of empowering a character with certain moves is not new. For instance, Adult Gohan has that in DBFZ. But for the Street Fighter universe, Jamie's drinks are pretty unique, and the very choice of mechanic for strengthening yourself up is quite cool. Jamie starts with underpowered everything. Drinks are needed to reach the normal level, and drinks are needed to step beyond that level. You should find the proper time to drink every round. But don't get confused, it's not you who's chugging the drinks. Maybe Street Fighter 6 will get weirder with DLC roster expansion. We have some good examples of unconventional characters in the previous games of the series. In Street Fighter 4, Hakan uses special oil to cover his body, which makes his defense better, his slide attack cover a bigger distance, oil rocket have a longer range, and focus attack obtains sliding qualities. Hakan is present in the World Tour of Street Fighter 6. Could he join the playable roster? President of Earth, G, also has a power-up mechanic in Street Fighter 5. He gets additional energy from Earth elements and obtains extra moves, better damage, and more combo options. Level 3 of this mechanic allows the guy to perform EX moves without spending meter. But at the same time, G is more vulnerable in his power-up state than Jamie. If the opponent knocks him down, G loses 1 presidentiality level. What do you prefer as a power-up? Drinks or gaining Earth energies? Let us know in the comments. Street Fighter goes a bit weirder with 12 in Third Strike. The character has hyper adaptation and can transform his body in various ways. His limbs can get longer or take some weird shape, becoming axes, drills, or other weapons. And his whole body changes to adapt to a fight situation, to glide, air dash, or crawl. What Street Fighter weirdness do you prefer? Is Jamie unconventional enough for you? If you like Street Fighter 6 and enjoy exploring it, take a look at our video that highlights 26 details and references in this title. It's right on DashFight's channel. This creature is weird even in terms of an anime fighting game. Not only is he a non-human being, but also his moveset is very different from the BlazBlue roster. We could compare Arakune to Jamie, in a way, but instead of powering himself up, Arakune curses opponents. He performs drive attacks to fill up his Crimson Gauge, and when it happens, well, I just don't want to be in the shoes of those victims. Arakune releases super annoying bugs, like actual creatures from the other world or something, and they turn his attacks into an unstoppable stream of unreactable mix-ups and unstoppable combos. It sounds cool. Cursed opponents lose their health really quickly if they don't manage to hit back somehow, but without those bugs, Arakune is rather in the weaklings league. He has some tools, but they are totally insufficient. Play to curse, perhaps? That is his motto. Unusual movements add extra uniqueness to Arakune. As a proper mystic creature, he can teleport in a few ways. It could be a low teleportation that tracks the opponent, ground, and air teleporting to a few different destinations, or teleportation from one side of the screen to another for escaping wall pressure. With 2 air dashes and some special moves that change his position on the stage, Arakune becomes difficult for opponents to catch. This is an important feature of his game plan. Be quick and avoid damage before putting the curse and unleashing that bug madness. The Turtle Hermit breaks every stereotype in DBFZ, improves his strength among all those Saiyans and mighty aliens. Playing him requires some extra training. Doing that on the Kame House Island would be indeed nice. But anyway, your habits from other DBFZ characters will not work with Master Roshi. His Super Dash is replaced with other moves, and you need some time to get used to dashing around the screen with Reverse Kamehameha and Masterful Leap. It sure is an advantage, as these are ground and air moves, so you could use both in one combo. But it is also a layer of complexity. Figuring out how to use 5 different angles of the leap to make your combos work, and that Reverse Kamehameha is a beam. How would you hit an opponent with it? Other universal mechanics that don't work for Master Roshi include no Ki Blast projectiles with 5S, he has a Shockwave with unique anti-super dash properties instead, and his anti-air energy ball launcher with 6S is one of a kind, having even a boomerang effect. Also, Roshi has some extra normals, such as a backflip on the ground and in the air, cross-up teleportation, and jumping down medium that sends the opponent into sliding knockdown. Even basically traditional normals work differently for Master Roshi. For instance, jumping medium hits behind Roshi and down heavy activates a step backward. Yeah, try and make the universal combo with this. The Turtle Hermit is a very technical character thanks to his variety of options. Do you have enough motivation to master Master Roshi? And talking about the universal combo in DBFZ, we have a video guide dedicated to it. Please check it out. In the case of Guilty Gear Strive, it is hard to choose which one of these weird characters is the weirdest one and the most unconventional. Maybe it's Zato 1, who creates shadows to attack opponents, or Jack O with her Roboto minions, or maybe it is Bedman with the Air 6E that shoots automatic attacks after a special, which you can delay, and the type of attack depends on the special used. Yeah, it's pretty complicated. But Asuka, he probably wins the competition. That man has a special mana gauge to perform spells, and you should think about gaining or spending this additional resource and what spell to use in the unpredictable flow of fight. The spells have to be placed into 4 active slots with a special move, Bookmark, and the process is just random, which adds an extra layer of complication. Consider having 3 test cases for different types of spells: projectiles, pressure tools, and unique gimmicks. Add here tricky ways to change the spells, canceling them into certain special moves, a limited number of pages for stocking spells. It certainly feels like using magic in a fighting game. Should we graduate from Hogwarts for doing that? How weird could an anime fighting character be? Sky's the limit here. Bringing cats to tough matches? Why not? We have one in BlazBlue games, Junpei, who looks and feels like a proper dangerous samurai. With Neco-Arc, the authors of Melty Blood went above and beyond. Not only is this cat a typical anime-like character with those huge eyes and a cute dress, but also Neco-Arc has very unusual fighting qualities. First of all, she is small. This affects everything, from short normals to ridiculous health, and then comes the randomness of her hilarious summons. Neco-Arc summons other cats to the screen, with a big variety of effects. Want to add to this unconventional character style? Maybe a red laser-like energy beam that comes straight out of the cat's eyes. Or that absolutely over-the-top anti-air move with shooting countless cats. No, let's pick something even better. Starting a live stream on her Great Cats Village channel as one of the Neko Packet 2022 options, with game gauges covered and random actions happening on the fighting ground. It comes with flaws though. The gotcha summons are random. It may bring even a pretty girl with quite an effective attack. So it is hard to come up with a stable game plan for Neco-Arc, and experienced opponents will effectively exploit her general weaknesses. Still, playing this cat in an anime environment? Yes, please. The world of Soulcalibur is filled with noble warriors and mystical villains who embrace sacred or cursed energies. And then there is Voldo, who is not a proper human nor a typical mighty beast. He is weird. Let's start with those poses he takes. When Voldo stands normally, he has good zoning tools, can effectively punish, and plays mainly a defensive game. But when he takes that back arc, Voldo becomes substantially more offensive, attacking his opponent with very quick buttons. Voldo players should learn how to effectively switch between these styles. It might work well after some practice, especially considering his mix-up potential and unpredictability. But knowledgeable opponents, able to bring constant pressure to the match, will know how to deal with Voldo. The character is generally unsettling, from his appearance and dancing-like movements to actually fighting with him or against him. Do you like his style? Despite all of this unusualness, Voldo is still sticking to pretty common Soulcalibur fighting patterns. So why not add another weirdo to our Soulcalibur discussion? Azwel fits well within the game's aesthetic, but gameplay-wise, he might even be more unique than Voldo. Azwel can produce weapons from thin air, having 3 different types: dual swords, an axe, and a spear with a shield. Considering the weapon-based fighting mechanics of Soulcalibur, this is a very important ability. The other characters have 1 weapon only, so with Azwel, you have substantially more options, but more practice is required to be on top with this great villain. Entering the almighty state with Azwel, where he has all 3 weapons, is quite satisfying. Let those opponents tremble in fear. In general, Under Night In-Birth uses pretty common inputs for Arc System Works and French-bred games. All those quarter and half circles, double taps, etc. But Vatista, she follows her own storyline of being an ancient artificial creation, basically a robot. She requires a bit of charging for performing specials. In theory, it's pretty straightforward. You hold backward, then tap forward and attack. Or you do the same with holding up and tapping down. But in practice, yeah, it requires a lot of training to make everything work properly in a fast-paced match. In a way, Vatista simplifies input, but at the same time, her moveset feels pretty weird in fights. She is not the only character with such charging moves in the fighting game genre. For instance, Mei from Guilty Gear Strive follows the same principle with her Mr. Dolphin summonings. But Vatista takes the feature to the ultimate level, offering charges in 4 directions. It is unique even for the unique category of charging fighters. Learning fighting games is a task on its own, but Junpei brings baseball into this. Did anyone tell him we have a fighting game here, not a sports simulator? The character has all baseball attributes. He fights with a bat in his hands, and his various moves affect different parts of the special baseball gauge. Junpei gets bases by hitting with his bat and a run after getting 3 bases. Blocks give balls, whiffs add strikes. Getting damage, being thrown, and accumulating 3 strikes means getting out. Getting used to these baseball mechanics may be exciting if you know and enjoy the original sport. For everyone else, it will be hard even to fight against Junpei. What could be weirder than a baseball player in a fighting game? How about a lawyer? Phoenix Wright comes from the Ace Attorney series, where he searches for evidence and presents cases in court. In Marvel vs. Capcom, he does basically the same thing. He collects evidence, and if they are good, Phoenix Wright can effectively attack his opponent. There are special modes for collecting and using the evidence: investigation and trial. Having 3 good pieces of evidence in special slots may lead to landing upgraded command normals and entering the 3rd mode, Turnabout. It enhances the character's moves, making him a really good fighter. But the evidence may be bad, you never know, and without them, Phoenix Wright is kind of a joke character with no real potential. Even getting evidence strongly depends on assists for him. Do you have any objections about a lawyer in a fighting game? Taking friends into a fight sounds a bit unfair. Is it a 1v1 match or what? But Lowain just doesn't care. He summons bros to attack his opponents in different ways, and then he calls for a lady to destroy these impudent enough who even thought of battling him. Okay, it's not as easy as it sounds. The summoning happens with specific conditions only. Lowain needs a full bar of meter and only 30% of health left. But if this happens and the girl has been summoned, she starts throwing some devastating moves. Escaping them becomes pretty difficult. The unconventional moveset of Lowain is not limited to this summoning. His supers are pretty unusual too, but whenever you see the lady, everything else becomes less meaningful. Advanced Robotics Intelligence Architecture has 3 bodies to switch between in a fight. These bodies, or drones, are quite different, and each has its own health bar. They are smaller than usual, but the opponent has to reduce all of them to 0. ARIA has a booster body with improved air mobility, blade body with better walk speed, and base body that focuses on zoning. Yeah, you have to learn these 3 types and be able to switch between them quickly, which includes having the muscle memory for 3 different types of combos. On one hand, the difficulty with ARIA is rewarding, as the bodies are really strong within their areas, and also it's a good knowledge check for opponents. But on the other hand, a smaller health bar means a high risk of losing one of the bodies because of a seemingly insignificant mistake. You lose a big part of your tools and cannot follow the general plan. ARIA risks getting weaker with the flow of a Killer Instinct match, which is the opposite of the general concept for many other fighting game characters, who gain meter and become stronger. Next up is Mokujin. He is basically a training dummy with no personality and no individual fighting style. It means you get a character that uses movesets of other Tekken fighters. It happens randomly and changes each round. Can you name a more challenging way to check your knowledge of the roster? Even the animation of this creature copies one of another character. Winning matches with Mokujin is hard. It's actually an ultimate random character select. But playing against Mokujin is even harder, as you need to understand who you are actually facing. What about the extra weirdness of mixing various moves in one character? Tekken Tag Tournament 2 has Combot, who is a customizable robot, so you can combine the moves of other characters and get something absolutely unique. Why bother with preset movesets if you can reflect your style in such a unique way? Also, I want to mention Yoshimitsu, and specifically his Tekken 4 version. The character could copy a move of his opponent and then use it against the rightful owner. Is your skill range wide enough to use stolen moves effectively? Did you know that Tekken characters copy real-world martial arts? We discussed this phenomenon in our special series, and the last episode is all about wrestling. And let's add a small cherry on the cake. FighterZ Megamix is a crossover game released back in 1996. It has characters from Virtua Fighter and Fighting Vipers. All are by Sega, so the crossover is pretty natural. And it also has a car from a racing game, Daytona USA, as a character. So, have you ever played a fighting game against a car, you know, landing punches and kicks with wheels while the car is standing to its rear? This was too much for the FGC. We've never seen anything like that in other games, and those who actually played Hornet and FighterZ Megamix say the moveset is too basic and even boring. But is it weird? Certainly. Look, we may have left some people off the list, but don't forget that this is only our list, and we can't wait to see your opinion. Who have we missed? Please share it in the comments below who are the weirdest and most unconventional characters, especially for you. And for everything fighting games related, check out our primary platform, DashFight.com. There, you'll find news, guides, tournament schedules, and so much more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.